Friday greetings to all of you. We seem to be living in a different world now, I think. We seem to look at everything with suspicion, be it inanimate things or human beings crossing our threshold. COVID has coaxed us all into a confined space of our homes. We have become more disciplined these days. But is this the actual way of living a healthy life? Without socializing, finding to do our own things leisurely and systematically, spending time with our own family and taking care of ourselves. I think it looks like we are sort of a self-centered now. These last 5 months, all of us have slowly begun adjusting to the new life. We are moving to acceptance mode and reconcile to live with COVID, just like another version of flu. But I must admit, COVID has definitely brought us a sea change in the attitude of people in our families and our communities. We see several positive things happening in our life, including men like many of us learning up to double up as cook, maid, gardener, barber, plumber, electricians. On the other hand, the situation is painful for the poor, particularly the guest workers who are struggling to get back home to get a job, and also those families which are facing the wrath of the virus itself. The rising number of depression cases and suicides is very alarming. But we, on our part, can spread some cheer and positive energy by keeping in touch with our friends, relatives, and acquaintances, and also chipping in for the needy. Society now has a different kind of relationship with the environment and Mother Earth. I think it's time. Let's rectify our mistakes and move ahead with empathy, self belief, and compassion. Let's keep building community. Let's keep experimenting. Let's stay positive. There's nothing that builds a community as strongly as shared struggle. The communities that survive are going to come out stronger than ever before. Let us follow in Mahatma Gandhi's footsteps, who said, I quote, strength does not come from physical capacity, it comes from an indomitable will. Now, I would like to welcome our prime speaker of the day, Ms. Vijaya Kumar, who will throw light on living with the new normal. She is a psychotherapist, counselor, trainer, and teacher who conducts mental health awareness programs and workshops for students and also teachers. She has also served as a counselor at the University of Madras. She has worked as a consultant psychologist with VXL Education Trust and teaches psychology at Patashala Krishnamurti Foundation, India. I also extend my warm wishes to San Academy Principal Mrs. Sajata and my 4 colleagues, Professor Krishnamurti and S.K. Shankar. Now, I call upon Mr. Krishnamurti to take it forward.
Okay. So, very good evening to all. Thanks to Mrs. Vijay Lakshmi for the nice welcome address, and I thank Mr. Vijaya Kumar for sparing her valuable time, especially on the occasion of Gandhi Jayanti celebrations. She'll be addressing the audience on a very interesting topic entitled Life After COVID-19, Living with the New Normal. So more than 6 months, we are having a totally different experience, especially recovery from the biological disaster, which is not yet over. Also, there is no clarity on when the issue of pandemic will be over. So people across the world have undergone different levels of impact of this pandemic. There is the infection of this pandemic on the mental health, especially the mindset, which is the foundation of mental health. So we are in a needs adaptive skills. So hence we are expecting to get better understanding on adaptive skills for this webinar. So I request Mrs. Vijaya Kumar to take 25 to 30 minutes to complete the presentation. And the latter part we spend for discussion on the questions and queries from the audience. For this webinar, the main audience are school students and teachers and parents as well. And we may also have residents from our neighborhood community. Also, I have a request to the audience that the questions and queries are expected to have better understanding on mental health and not on the government regulation guidelines on COVID-19. And COVID-19 guidelines are mandatory for every individual to follow, and hence there is no discussion on that part. So now I hand over the session to Mrs. Vijaya Ramkumar, and take it forward to complete the presentation.
Thank you, Krishnamurthy
Please,
sir,
you can
and
go
thank
ahead
you.
with your presentation.
Yeah, thank you, Vijay Lakshmi, and all fora members, Sujata, ma'am, principal of SAN Academy, and all those who will be hearing this webinar today. I'll start with my presentation. I think what people may realize now, or maybe have understood for a long time, also that change is something that is a part of life. Either the change is invited by us in some form or the other. It could be like a change of place, that we move to a different place, we change jobs, and those are sometimes choices that we make, and sometimes change that is wrought upon us by the situation. Like, for example, the COVID happened to us. It was not a choice for us, so it happened to us. Whatever be the change, change is something that would happen. And what is beautiful about uh, all living organisms, and especially human beings, is that whether we know it or not, we adapt to change. Because adapting to the change is part of our survival mechanism. It's just that different people take a different amount of time to adapt, but everyone adapts in one way or the other. So there is a part of us which is pretty resilient, which wants to overcome the disturbances that come with change, and hence we will definitely adapt. And what I'm proposing to do today is to give you all an awareness and understanding of the stages of adaptation that we go through when we encounter a change. And what I would like to share is that these stages of adaptation are universal across all human beings. It's not that I go through it and you don't. All of us go through these stages of adaptation. It's just that each of us take a different amount of time in each of these stages. Some of them move faster, or some of them go through 2 or 3 cycles, or some of them take longer in each stage, and hence they may be not yet having completed the cycle. But the movement is always towards completing the adaptation, and that is a very positive aspect of this adaptation cycle that we go through. And hence I would like each of us to and this, when I'm going through those adaptation cycles, also reflect upon where you think you are with respect to the cycle, and what is it that what is the kind of help which I would also be presenting. What is the kind of thing, support, that we need during these adaptation cycles that we go through. So to begin with, I would like to ask, what were, just, you don't have to, you can write it in your own book or think about it. What were your feelings during the start of the lockdown? What were the feelings that you went through when it started, and how did you, what did you do with it or deal with it? What were you just feeling at that point of time? And that feeling could have lasted a few hours, a few days, even a few weeks. Or you might have gone through a gamut of feelings and gone through some repetitive feelings also during the lockdown. And what are your feelings right now? Is it the same or is it different? How are you feeling about it right now? Because it's 6 months now, and there is a new normal that we are moving to. We had adapted to a certain kind of lifestyle in the last 6 months, and there seems to be some changes happening to that now. So are we now feeling differently about it? Are we thinking about the new way of life that we need to, live? Are we thinking about it differently? Or if there could be people for whom maybe there are not much changes. So it will also depend on the profession, the kind of work that you do, whether there has been a drastic change or whether it has been subtle changes. And for some, it could be very productive, for some, it could be unproductive, or so for some, it could have been more difficult, and for some, it would have been very easy. So, from that point of view, it is a very individual, subjective experience. Whether the change itself is easy, and was it easier to manage, and easier to get down to being normal, or normal in the sense of having a routine that helped you, or did it take longer because of the kind of work you do, and so it was not that easy. But irrespective of whether it was difficult or easy, the stages of adaptation that we go through is the same for everyone. So I would like to start with what is the first stage in adaptation or change. When that happens, what do we all go through? So this is the stages of adaptation has been adapted from from a concept proposed by Julie Hay, and she talks about how when the change occurs, there seems to be a sort of frozen uh, feeling inside all of us. Even now that the lockdown is now they have all shut, they've brought it all down. There may be some people who may be in that space where they are not very sure about what to do with it. Do I want to go back to what I had 6 months before? Or do I just continue the same way? So there is a sense of uncertainty, confusion, indecisiveness about what I should really be doing. And when that happens for some of us, we seem to be doing nothing. That is, I don't want to change the status quo because I don't know what to do with it. So I withdraw into my own cocoon, which is inside of myself, because I'm still wondering what to do with myself. And how do I deal with this change? Do I move forward or do I stay where I am? And this uncertainty is what I am living with. This is the same thing you might have gone through even when the lockdown started. And now it is a new way. And with any change, even if it is something like a new job or new, I'm sure with many of us, because of the kind of situation we have been going through in the last 6 months, technology itself might have been something new to us. We were not sure about what to do with it. And for a long time, I remember for the first 2 months, I did nothing. Even when there were people who had already started, using technology, giving webinars, talking across the internet, but I was not really sure about it because I was in that space I didn't know what to do with technology. So I went into this stage where I did nothing for almost 1 or 2 months. So this is the first stage that many of us go through, where we don't want to be doing anything, and it is okay. That's how we are. That is a natural process when you are encountering something you don't know. And the second stage that we go to is denial. Like, even if, I don't know, and since I don't know, I prefer to do what I have been doing before, because that is what I know very well. And hence, I pretend as if things have not changed, and I try to go on as we used to. So for most of you, now that they are bringing down the lockdown and there is an option of moving out, probably we would still not want to do that, and we want to remain where we are, because that is safety for us. That is something we have now known how to deal with, and this is again a new normal. And how do I deal with this? I don't want to. This is not something that I'm comfortable with, probably, or I go out, but I'm still not sure. So I would prefer to remain. So there may be many people who would be in that state where, sometimes some people are forced to, because of the kind of work they do. But that's given a choice. We would want to be where we are with what we know, and not go on, because we would rather remain with what is more comfortable and what has protected us and probably kept us very safe. So that space where we deny that things are changing, and that probably I need to move from where I am, but I choose not to move to, because this is where I feel the most safe. So denial is one aspect of the second stage of adaptation, where I don't want to do things because this is where I am the most comfortable. When you come to the third stage, there is frustration, in the sense that I don't want to move. I am happy where I am. Probably I don't even want to go out, because I have known how to keep myself safe. But things are changing, and probably I cannot remain in this comfort zone for a very long time. I may have to move from here, but I don't know how to move. So it could be something as simple as, okay, if I have to go out, what do I do? I may be following rules, but others may not be. So there's a lot of threat that we are experiencing. And so I know that I need to change, but I don't know how to, in the sense of what are the precautions that I need to take? Do I know enough about what is happening outside? And since the knowledge is not complete, and sometimes when we visit places or visit on a necessary basis, I have to go and buy grocery. I have to go and meet the doctor sometimes. There could be small things that are essential, and yet we are a little unsure about how to proceed, because I don't know how the facilities are going to be. How can I be protected, and what do I do if things are not what I expect to be? So, and how do I then respond to this? How do I look after myself in this process? So, in the sense that I need to change, I need to equip myself to what could come my way, but I am still in that space where I don't know how. Because I have been in this place where I have not moved out much, probably, and hence I am not exposed to what is happening outside. But I'm not in a place now to stay there anymore, because things are now moving ahead and things are going to change. And at some point, I may have to go to a new way of normal. Maybe not what happened not the kind of life that I had in January, where I lived clueless as to what was happening. But in the sense of, having to go out at some point of time, maybe the frequency of exposure is going to be more. So how do I deal with this? So there is that frustration that I'm experiencing, that, I have to change, but I am not very comfortable changing. And I don't know what to do with this situation. Do I go? Would I be exposing myself? And what could be happening? And is it really worth it in that sense? So all these agitation could be happening within us, simply because we don't know how bad or good the situation is outside. And yet for many of them, they would already be in the space where, they have gone through the agitation, but I really have no choice, but I have to move out. I have to do some work. I have to get out of the house. And when that happens, when that acceptance comes, okay, there is no way that I cannot not go, that I cannot adapt to this new thing, I have to move towards that change, is when I would normally start exploring what is it that I have to do, what are the options that I have that may be appropriate to this new situation. I remember a couple of 1.5 months back, when I had to drop my mom back in Mumbai. And it had been 6 months since she was there. And at some point, she wanted to go back, and she wanted to go back to her space where she was feeling very comfortable. And I didn't think it was fair to ask her to continue, because from her perspective, this doesn't seem to be ending. What do I do with this? With this time, this seems to be prolonging, and I want to go back home. I want to see my son. And I remember being very anxious about the travel, and what is it? How am I going to manage this? And how am I exposing myself? And so I started exploring. I remember, but initially there was a lot of agitation. And whenever somebody asked me, how are you going to do it? And I would immediately get more anxious, thinking, am I doing the wrong thing? Should I cancel my tickets? And there was this whole agitation I was going through, until at one point I realized that if not now, and if the situation is not going to change, 3 months down the line, I would still have to drop her. So at that point, I think I accepted that I made the choice that no, I have to do this. And then I started exploring, how do I protect myself? How do I take care of myself? How do I do this travel? What are my options about, doing a safe travel and back? And when I accepted, and when I started exploring the options, is when I started, talking to people about, what are the things I need to do? How do I take care of myself? What are the things I should carry, and how should I travel? And, how can I do the, what does it mean to be inside an aircraft where it is totally closed? So a lot of exploration, speaking to people. I remember my daughter going all over the place in the net, and looking at best ways of traveling, and sending me so much information about it. Sometimes, of course, too much information is also not very healthy. So at some point of time, you're equipped now. You feel, okay, I have enough knowledge, and I know what I should do for myself and my mom when I'm traveling. And so I start now thinking about, okay, what are the things I should do when I right from the time I embark onto the airport, and those kind of listings that I do in my mind about how do I organize it. So that's the part where I'm developing these skill set or knowledge and information that I need to have for my travel. And at this point of time, I feel more competent about traveling, because I think I have adequate information, and I'm feeling more confident because I've got these all the required information and skill set that I think is required for me to travel. So it's going to be with each of us when we move on, and when we start accepting that we need to go out, we would start thinking about, how am I going to now equip myself? I'm sure for many of us, we don't even think we know that having a mask, a sanitizer, all these have become part of the paraphernalia that we need if we are stepping out of the house. And wherever we go, we are given a sanitizer, and we are asked to maintain distance. So these kind of information and skill sets, or what we call as knowledge that we need to have, makes us more competent, and with competence comes confidence about dealing with new situations. And with that, so when you have the new information is when you start applying it all over the place. So I'm sure one would never think twice about, constantly using sanitizer wherever you go, whether you get in or get out, wearing a mask wherever you go, and small things that one would not, coming back home and washing your hands and legs. Sometimes even some people even take a bath. So it is depends on each person how he experiences what he needs to do and feel good, feel more confident and secure after doing all that. So the application part is when I've become this new person, in the sense of, this was not what I was a year back, but this is who I am now, and this has become part of my routine. It's like when we teach children, you have to wash your hands before you eat, you have to wash your hands and legs after you come back from playing. So in that sense, where we internalize all these skill sets, because that makes us more confident, secure, and it decreases the discomfort that arises when with not being able to manage a situation. But here, when you start applying all these things that you're much more ready, and it comes easily to apply to various situations. So there could be a gamut of things that you do with respect to a new normal life, which would be universally applied in every place that you go. It could be when you go to visit a different family friends, or you go to work, and all these becomes part of your routine because they help you to feel more secure. And once you start applying, then it becomes very, very automatic for you. It's not something that you think about. i'm sh- uh, some weeks back, I used to get down and I used to actually remember, oh, I have not carried a mask, and I used to go up. Now it has become so much a part of my way of doing things. I don't even think about it, and I just get out and I have my mask, and we have a sanitizer. So when things become very automatic for us, we are no longer thinking about it, then it means that I have completely adapted to this new change, and this new identity that I have of somebody who has to take care of myself in this way. Your habits, the rituals, the practices that we do are part of who you are, and that all these things become a part of you, and you become more and more comfortable doing all that, and they also make you more confident about dealing with the new normal, about going out. So it's a question of adapting to all these changes that are coming your way. And how do I learn these skills? Do I take it from outside? Do I develop my own way of doing things because this is what has helped me? So all these become part of who you are in this in the new normal that you're living in. Different people go through these stages for a different amount of time. So, or they could, as I said earlier, they could have already gone through 3 cycles of it or 2 cycles of it. It doesn't matter. What matters is to recognize where we are, and in the process where we are, and probably to also understand where your family members are with respect to these stages. So this is how we call it the competency curve, and how the immobilization is there, and then there is a denial of the situation, and then when there is frustration, you go almost to the point of immobilization or lower, and then you pick up when you start accepting the situation and start developing new ways of doing and thinking about the situation until you become so skilled that it becomes something very automatic to you. So when you are in that stage where you are not very sure about what you want to do, and you are not doing anything, and it could be somebody around you also, all you want is that reassurance that I'm okay as I am. And probably some people worry more and want to not do anything about it. I think what they require is a lot of reassurance from people around them, care about them. And when you are in denial, that no, I want to be the old way, I don't want to move, I don't think I can take the change. What we need is patience, and probably what we need to offer people who are in this space, we need to offer patience till they find their way. And that is very important. We can't push people to do things before they are ready. frustration, when you're going through frustration and anger and exhibiting those symptoms, manifesting the anger in different ways, we need to be tolerant of ourselves and others need to be tolerant of you also, when we are going testing our thinking and probably getting very frustrated about it because we don't seem to be heading anywhere. When we accept ourselves and we accept that this is the new normal and this is how I have to now look at life differently to adapt, then others also find it easier to accept. When we agitate that others also see it and are not able to understand. But when we accept, then everyone else around us accepts us. This and acceptance is not only for this kind of situation or circumstance I'm talking about, but even as a human being, when we accept who we are, it's easier for others to accept us. When people don't accept us, it is because also the fact that I am not comfortable with who I am. Then when from acceptance, when you move to development, when you're looking for information, reach out to people who are knowledgeable, who are patient, who are caring, and who seem to understand, what is happening to you. And then ask for information, because that is more helpful than people who are probably critical or judgmental, because that doesn't help. So when you are in the development stage, reach out to trusted people who will understand, and yet suggest options for you that you feel very comfortable choosing. And when you're actually applying it, or when you are taking that step out to do something different which you feel comfortable doing, what we require constantly is encouragement, and that makes us feel more confident. So during the application stage, whether it is your child, whether it is your elders in the family, whether it is you, your spouse, or your friend, encourage people when they are trying out new stuff, especially in this circumstance. We need to be cautious. At the same time, not demoralize any effort towards a normal way of living, as long as all the precautions are in place. So people do need encouragement to actually, in a way, connect with the resilience that we all have to deal with situations. Human beings are naturally resilient, and we need to encourage that resilience in people. And once we get that kind of an encouragement, then there's nothing that can stop us, and we would be, doing things so automatically that is good for us. So all these stages need a different kind of empathy from people, and you also need to offer the same to people when you recognize them in different stages. The other way of dealing with these stages as you go through is in the circumstance, in the new normal that you're going to live, and even as a part of life on a regular basis, we have different kinds of ways in which we structure time. And I'm not going to go into detail on this, but withdrawal means spending more time with oneself. Rituals and rituals like regular practices that we do in the morning, and that could be something as simple as walking is a ritual for some people. Praying is a ritual for some people. Cooking can be a ritual. Then there are pastimes where you connect with people and talk to people with no purpose, actually, just because you want to connect and be friendly. And activities could be teaching or training, or attending a gym class, or it could be attending some painting class. So there are a lot of activities that we engage in. And games here actually has it's more of psychological games that I'm not I don't have the time to elaborate upon. But games, all of them give us a payoff, and you play games with people at different levels. And then intimacy, where you spend a lot of time with your closed ones, with your close people, where you get intimate, and that also helps. It nourishes all these time structuring, the way we structure our time in a day or in a week. These are the ways in which we do it, and all these are required for the nurturing of the individual. Except in the sense of how it would be important to see how am I structuring my time. This is just an example of what I've put there. It could be different for different people, and you need to probably look at where am I spending my most of my time, and what do I need to do to be more effective in the way I nurture myself. And at the end of it, what I would like to say is wherever we are, in whatever circumstance and whatever adaptation and changes we are going through, what is very essential is self-care, in the sense of the time I spend with myself, and and the space that I give to myself to understand and reflect from where I come and what I need from me and my family, to reflect on that, and because the more time you spend with yourself, the more aware you are, the more mindful you become of your responses, and more mindful you become about asking for what you need from your family. When those needs of yours and the others are not addressed, is when communications become very conflicting, because they are not communicated properly. And hence, the longer we spend time with ourselves, is when we get more aware and more clarity about what we need and how do we need to respond to those needs, and how do we respond to others. So in all the changes that are happening in our life, though we seem to be now more at home, and seems to be that we are spending a lot of time with the family and probably not engaging so much socially, how much of it is actually spent on ourselves, because the whole situation has demanded a lot of multitasking from all of us. And hence, even in that space, sometimes we seem to have lost that time that we need to spend with ourselves. So at the end of this, I would like to reiterate that the adaptation cycles are universal for everyone, and people spend different times on it, and that's okay, because each person is individual, each person is different, each person's experience and thought process are very different, and hence they're going to spend different amount of times in those stages, and we need a lot of support from our near and dear ones during this time, and we need to offer the same, and we need to structure our time during these processes, because that really helps us that helps us to be resilient, and at the end of it, a lot of self-care is required in that process of adaptation, so that it is effective, and it helps us, the process becomes more smooth. So thank you. This is what I wanted to share with respect to adaptation cycles. Questions are welcome, sir, if there are any. Sir, I'm not.
I think yes, true.
Sir, you have to unmute yourself.
Yeah. How to give comfort to people, those who are in suspicion?
Pardon? I couldn't hear you.
How to give comfort to people. Now you can hear me?
Yes.
How to give comfort to people, those who are in suspicion.
Who suspect?
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously, people suspect because probably they're not able to trust that they will get the care that they want. So suspicion normally comes from the feeling that probably they are not cared for. There could be many reasons, but offhand, I'm thinking that people feel that they are not cared for and things are not going their way. And probably there is a lack of trust. And how can I be consistent and empathetic to that need of that person? And so that they're able to see that, oh, this person is trustworthy and I don't, what I'm getting what I need. So it's about being consistent in your behavior in a way where you make them feel more secure. And that would depend upon each individual.
Okay.
This is a general answer that I can give.
The next question is, can you hear me?
Yeah.
You can hear me? Okay. Any awareness tips for people on panic?
So I think awareness would be, are you able to sense when, is it, is it an experience that you feel somatically? And do you have any clues with respect to, what triggers the panic? And those are things that you could probably start looking at. And whether it is the situation or whether it happens without any situation. So those triggers are very important to understand. And when you do, what is it? Where do you feel it in the body? And then depending on that, what is it? What kind of calming, practices that I can do, and whom can I reach out to when I experience those panic situations? So the triggers, understanding the triggers and understanding what you are going through, and then to address it and find out what can I do with those. So the triggers and is it more futuristic or is it circumstantial?
Okay. The another question is, how to speed up to reach the acceptance stage?
There is no reason to speed up. There is no reason to speed
the
up.
Acceptance stage.
Why should you speed up?
Oh.
It's okay where you are. Different people take different time, and that is who we are. Why do I want to be different? Unless it is causing you discomfort. And if it is so, then it is important that you reach out and figure out as to why that acceptance is not happening. And there could be then reasons for that. But with different people, it takes different time. And if it is not troubling, it's okay. There is no way you're going to remain anyway, forever. You are going to move. You're just going to take more time than others.
Okay. And the another question is, how to create community with strong mental health?
Strong mental health comes from a very secure, safe childhood. I think a child is the one who becomes an adult, and a child, when it is growing up, has to feel safe and secure with respect to the relationships, the environment that they are living in. They need to feel connected with with the parental figures. It could be the teachers, it could be the parental figures, it could be the grandmother, grandfather. That connect that they need to feel at all times. The emotional connect is very, very important. Um, so the attachment that we call with the parental figures become a very, very important part of the resilience that children develop. So when that connect and that the attachment is not secure, when the child feels, I think in any relationship, whether it's a child or an adult, resilience comes from the fact that I feel I'm heard, I'm listened to, and there is somebody who is understanding of what I'm going through, and there is somebody who empathizes with me and who's patient and who accepts me, acknowledges the little things that I do. So with that comes acceptance. Otherwise, there is a constant distance between what is expected of me and what I can do. When this gap is not, when I'm constantly striving to be something that I cannot be, um, and I feel that I am not understood uh, in this in the community that I am living in, and I'm not accepted for who I am. And that's when I think it becomes a challenge to remain secure within yourself. So, but to feel secure within yourself, to accept who I am, those seeds are sown in the childhood by the environment that we grow up in. It doesn't suddenly come up. So at every stage of my growing up, if I am not accepted by the people around me and I'm constantly expected to be something else, I am not heard, and I am not, I don't feel emotionally connected and understood, then I am not then connected with myself, because I'm constantly living for someone else and fulfilling the expectations of someone else. So the resilience comes, mental health comes from feeling safe, seen. We say that seen by the parent. At all times, my parents see who I am, and I can see them being with me. So and that's what makes me more feel very secure also. So I think those are what, in any relationship, the way you connect with people, am I feeling connected? Do I feel capable in the relationship? Am I made to feel capable or incapable? Do I count for something in the relationship? Whether it is with a parent or with a spouse, with a friend, with a teacher, um, all these things give me the courage and the resilience, the connect, count, the capability that I feel. And all these three together make me feel more courageous and more confident about who I am. So those are very, it's the environment that can give you that strength in mental health.
Okay. You might have interacted with many school students during the post-COVID period, and maybe might have given some kind of counseling. So what is your observation on the worst psychological impact of this pandemic on school children?
Um, I think what they would probably miss is social interaction. Though I want to honestly say that I have not been really talking to school children right now. I have, because more of youngsters is what I have been now talking to, 23, 25. And but what I do see as an impact is, children do miss social interaction, and spending more, that physical activity that is required for them. Though I think some of the parents do, in complexes, there are people who take them out to play, and when there are less people and all that. But I think what would probably be impacting them is just social interaction, more of it. And probably in a humorous way, I would think that I don't think they want to spend so much time with their parents at home too. But that's more of a joke in the sense, but all of us need variety, and that is not happening. But children are very naturally resilient. Uh, they adapt very well if they are given that space and that the patience. So I think they would move in and out of um, these circumstances far more easily than adults. But I think as long as they have the right environment at home, because they are now stuck at home, uh, I think the impact can be minimized. So it depends on what's the environment that they're getting at home, because that is where they're spending more of their time. So other than that, I think the only impact is probably they miss being with their peers and playing with them and talking to them. And that, of course, that is big. So they seem to be spending more time with adults in that sense.
Based on this, your explanation on the last question, there is a continuation of the last question. Will this long gap of social interaction affect the mental ability of children?
No. Maybe I don't think it will really. As I said, it depends on what is it that we are providing at home, and how can I do a different kind of interaction even with other children. Maybe it is not physical, but at least the conversations that they can have with others over using technology. Though technology can have its own impact with children, but to the extent that is possible. And probably parents can become, whenever possible, can they also become children with their children. I think that would be very helpful. I can't provide others,
And
but can
there
I
is
become
any
a child?
mm,
Yeah.
whether any impact on their learning ability because of this long gap?
I shouldn't think so. If we are able to provide, the conversation and the books and the material for discussion. Learning doesn't happen only by going to school. Learning happens through a lot of other things. There can be many, many ways of learning even at home. That's how learning
Whether
happened in olden days. Children didn't go to school till they were 6 or 7 years old, and they still learned a lot. It depends on what exposure I give to my child. What happens in school is a pure learning.
the question is
Actually,
maybe big.
pardon?
Okay, if there is any more questions from maybe as a head of the institution, maybe Mrs. Sujata may have certain queries. Whatever the things you received from the parents and students, maybe you can exchange with Mrs. Vijaya Kumar. Maybe another 5 minutes or so. We are expecting
I
some
feel
feedback from
now,
your side, from your school.
yes, sir. In our society, we have a very good family setup. All the parents are good caretakers. So always we are seeing that in a very different dimension, that and utmost care is given from the parent to the child. Actually, I feel that earlier we told them to give social interaction. Now we are talking about social distancing. Earlier we told about share and care. Now we are saying that be aware, away from others. So new terminologies that has evolved, and we have to prepare the mindset of the students, which is right, which is wrong, in which context it has to be exhibited. That we have to draw a line. So how we are going to make each level of the age appropriate way, how we are going to communicate and make it understood by the children.
You're saying or you're asking me?
Yes, I am asking you how to. Of course, it's given by the parent in such a way, but when it comes to the forum, then they are exposed to the society. If you talk about the social distancing and be away from people and do not share, this is a new concept. They are getting it. They may get tumbled into it, right? Why they said earlier like this? Why they are forbidding us to do those things? How we are going to make it in a positive way to the students?
Um, I think it's important when you explain it to them and give them the reason for it. I think children understand. Why do we assume that they won't understand the difference and the context in which it has to be done? They have the ability to understand if it is explained to them, and they will follow it. They come to school, they follow a lot of rules, right? Which is very different from what is at home. And they don't resist it. They know that in a school I have to follow a certain norms and rules. At home it is different. When I go to my friends, even between friends, there are different friends, and there are different households where there are different things that are expected. They adjust and adapt. So they will adapt to even this. If it is explained and the reasons are given, children do understand. They will. They know they have the discriminatory power. If they have adjusted to so many different rules, they know how they should behave when they get into a bus. They know how they should be in a classroom and how they have to be in a playground. They change with circumstances. They will do so even in this. I don't see any difficulty there. It's about how we give it to them, I guess.
Good, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. We are coming to the end of this webinar. Now I request Mrs. Sujata to summarize and propose the vote of thanks as well.
On behalf of Federation of Radial Road Residents Association and San Academy Group of Schools, I extend my hearty thanks to all the participants here and Ma'am Vijaya Ramparam. Your presentation is awesome. You have talked about how we are supposed to adapt to this current situation, and the topic chosen is living with new normal. The topic itself has the positive note, I believe. Even though we missed all the new routines and we have come across the new words like pandemic, lockdown, partial relaxation, then adaptation, acceptance, all those, it's a new coining words we added in our like every day-to-day life. And now the new normal routine has evolved in each and everybody's life. So it's like a home-centric work culture, resilience, change mindset on the concept of what is the happiness, the real happiness within us. So how to take care of each and everyone themselves. So the personal care, hygiene, all those we are focusing much and more after this pandemic situation. It is a clueless time which exposed people to unfold a lot of new things. They become confident. They become prepared to how to go forward, way forward. That's a new challenge, even though it pushed us to go to the new direction and pathway. That's the good thing, I believe. So, sir and Vijayalakshmi ma'am, thank you for your wonderful timing, what you have spent over here. Vijay Rampar ma'am, once again, I am rendering my thanks to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.